Hello, BookTube. Well, I thought we'd prepare another book, and in this case, it's Charles Sumner and the Rights of Man by David Donald, and as you can see, it's in pretty bad shape. It's just about as bad as you could hope for. But it's not beyond my power to save. I thought I'd show you how. Now, if you remember, the first thing you want to do is remove the dust jacket, because as is true with most hardcovers, the physical book itself is fine. It's good for another century. So we'll do that. And as you'll see, the dust jacket in this case is in two pieces. One of the flaps actually ripped off in the course of this being pulled and pushed all over the Brattle carts. And then you want to get your materials together. You want to have a mat so that you're not sticking the tape to the surface of whatever desk you're using. My mat is Heaven's Ladder, a great Justice League graphic novel. And you want to have your strips of adhesive ready. I have a bunch of them here. We're going to use those to fix the gaps. And your scissors and your tape. I also moved Charlotte, the enormous spider who lives in the gap between my desk and the wall and who constantly builds her webs outward from there. She's very land hungry, Charlotte is. And I moved her out so we wouldn't be we're bothering her and she wouldn't be bothering us. So the first thing you do is take the dust jacket, flip it over. That gives you sort of a negative image of what you're going to need. You want to fold all the rips and tears in the dust jacket until they fill as much of the space as possible. But in this case, that's not going to help much. And in this case, in addition to folding everything out, we also have this flap that needs to be actually reattached to the book. Our adhesive strips will be just fine for that. So the first thing you do is take one of those just to position the thing. There's no sense starting with the actual reattachment until you know that it's not going to wander all over creation. So just it can happen anywhere on the strip. Just put one of those things down to anchor the whole thing, and then flatten out all the folds. Just do that over again. What we want to do, the first thing we want to do is attach this flap back to the dust jacket. It's not really going to matter that that it's a little ungainly, because it's going to be part of the whole repair of the book anyway. So it's not, once we're done, it's not going to seem haphazard at all. So let me show you what I'm doing, because you can't really see it with the camera angle. I have reattached the back flap. It's not precise, but it doesn't need to be, because the overall repair we're going to do is going to be the thing that really makes the difference. So then you take more of these adhesive strips. In my case, these are priority mail stickers that you get free in a brick from the post office. I asked my crew at the post office if they mind if I took a brick, and they said no. Take as many as you like. You want to take these strips and align them with the top of the book that is otherwise frayed, because there's nothing less sightly than frayed tops to a book. We will eliminate those in this process. So the paper that originally constituted the cover is long gone. We're gonna see that. We do that, and then just stick the remains of the paper to that. We're just going to keep doing that. This one needs a lot, because this book, the dust jacket, is in really bad shape. So we're just going to align it with the top here and just keep doing that all the way along the top and bottom until you've got a nice solid border to work with. So if you don't have a nice solid border to work with, none of the rest of what we're going to do will actually work. So, oh, sorry, that's blocking the camera, isn't it? I have we go. And then flip it over and we'll do that on the bottom here. It's already starting to look a little something more solid. And that's what we want. Just want to solidify this. Give the cover a chance to live a little longer. I like doing these things for the camera, so I thought I would indulge myself, especially since the dogs and I did not have a good night. We were out all night long in 15-minute intervals. It sometimes felt like. Now, what you want to do, what you've got now is a solid border for the book, but you have these white gaps, and what I like to do is just sort of cross-hatch them in so they don't look quite so stark. And you have to do that now because you're not going to have a chance. And in a minute, these are going to be covered in tape and beyond recall. The cross-hatching that I do adds a little texture to the cover. Alright, so that's done. Now we want to coat the cover. We have our clear plastic packing tape. This book is about Massachusetts Senator Charles Sumner, who is one of the greatest heroes in American history. He's not remembered in schools. He's not taught anymore. And his speeches are not collected in the Library of America, when the speeches of far less eloquent men and women are. He was born and raised in Boston. Born on Irving Street, I think. I think I pass his house pretty much every day. And during a trip to the continent, when he was a young man, he saw something that astonished him. He saw black people being treated just nonchalantly as normal citizens by everyone around them. They went to public lectures, they went to restaurants, concerts, and no one thought anything of it. No one was trying to make a point. It just wasn't an issue. And he came back to his own country, which was mired in slavery. The South, the slavery of the South was at its peak in terms of industrialization and the cost in human misery. And suddenly Charles Sumner had a cause, and he took to it like a prophet. He began speaking and writing against slavery with a passion that the country had scarcely ever seen before. He was an incredibly good orator, and he put all of those skills to use and actually got better as he went along, excoriating the slave power of the South. And in 1856, he gave one particular speech on the floor of the Senate that was acid. It was a dangerously brilliant performance. Friends of his used to wonder when he walked out the door in the morning if he would ever get home, because he was fearless. And a few days after he gave that speech, a Southern congressman walked up to him when he was sitting in the well of the Senate. Sumner was sitting at a desk. He was working on a piece of writing, and the man walked up to him and gave him the equivalent of the comic punchline from The Simpsons. "You have offended me, sir." And proceeded to beat him with a heavy walking stick. Heavy wood with a metal knob at the bottom. And Sumner was seated at the table. He was trapped. He couldn't stand up. Suddenly he was being bludgeoned. And he fell to the floor, and the man kept beating him. And then he fell briefly unconscious, and the man kept beating him. And the man's confederate, his lackey, had a drawn pistol that he pointed at the other senators in order to keep them from interfering with a proponent of the slaveocracy beating a man to death on the Senate floor. Sumner was an enormous guy. He wasn't just brave as a lion. He was also 6'3" or 4", broad-shouldered. Had he had any warning, had the man had any sense of honor, and given him choice of weapons or even allowed him to stand up, the fight would have gone very differently. But as it was, Sumner was badly injured. He had extensive head trauma, lots and lots of bleeding, and also, as you might imagine from such a thing, personal trauma. Even when his physical injuries were healed, he lost his nerve. It had broken his nerve rather badly. He went traveling. He sort of took an extended holiday from the Senate. Went traveling, which always revived his spirits, and it did in this case. When he was traveling, he fell into the hands of a series of quack doctors who did no good. But it doesn't matter, because not only was his constitution perfectly fine, so that given it half a chance it would recover on its own, but also his nature was perfectly fine. His nature was not one to quit. And eventually he was back at his post, back at the Senate, railing against slavery, and also being the foremost voice in America, railing against the evils of Reconstruction, railing against the systematic inequalities imposed on ex-slaves by their former masters all throughout the Deep South. He was never attacked again, and retired with honor, and that was Charles Sumner, a great hero of Boston, great hero of this country, someone who saw that slavery was an unmitigated evil, would not compromise with it, and would not leave it alone. And this author, David Donald, I love this book. That's why I was so happy to find it. David Donald originally wrote a big book about Sumner that was very critical of him, cynical of him, and it won the Pulitzer Prize. And I forget the exact date of that book, but in between this book and that book, the civil rights movement in America erupted, and all of a sudden you had thousands and thousands of young black people marching on Washington, marching in Selma, marching in all throughout the Deep South, for better rights, for social equality, for all the things that were the dream of people like Charles Sumner. That the author, seeing those movements, I think it softened him a bit, because this book has far more praise of Charles Sumner than the last one that won the Pulitzer did. As well it should. It shouldn't be hagiography, of course. It should be a panegyric, but still, the man deserves praise. He deserves all the statues and schools that have been named after him. And there you have it. See that? That's now we have a dust jacket we can work with. So you take the book back, and you put it snugly where it once belonged. Fold the dust jacket back where it goes. And then, because the tape makes the dust jacket stiff, the tape makes it want to pop off, you take a tiny strip of tape and just tape the dust jacket in place. Because the dust jacket is now water resistant, weather resistant, dirt resistant, now that you can be cleaned with a white cloth, there's no real reason ever to take it off the book. The only reason we ever take dust jackets off books in the first place is because we're protecting them from damage. We've now made this dust jacket as durable as the book itself. So you tape those in place so they don't pop off, and voila! All of a sudden, our horrible-looking book has been salvaged. And now I get the pleasure of rereading Charles Sumner and the Rights of Man, which will be a delight, because it's a first-rate biography. So there you go. DIY repair and also tons of historical tedium. Thank you, BookTube.